So, good morning to everyone. Welcome to Tallinn City Museum. Welcome to Mihkel Fortification Museum. My name is Toomas and I'm head of this museum. It's a branch of the Tallinn City Museum. And we're starting with our conference, Danish-Estonian Relations in the Middle Ages. It's quite early in the morning, but we're starting in time. And I have honor to give the floor to Ambassador of Denmark in Estonia. Please, or welcome. Yes, please.
Thank you, Toomas. Thank you so much for arranging this conference. It's a bit a conference of rock stars in history. We will be looking back to the early Middle Ages, and these are the rock stars. And this was confirmed to me yesterday by my deputy at the embassy, Toomas, who was actually starstruck by some of the participants at this conference coming over to Tallinn. And he said, 10 years ago I wrote to one of them and he wrote me back. So this was still a legend in his personal history. And I also know this, of course, because I have been communicating with some of you. During my years, I've been ambassador here for 4 years in Estonia. I've had excellent cooperation with the City Museum, in particular with you, Toomas. It has been a pleasure. And I think today is the perfect day to start looking back. And why? Because when you walk around Tallinn today, it's very foggy. It's misty, and you look at the buildings, you can hardly see them. You look up, you can't see the top. It's a little bit the same with the early ages history. You look back, you can see some parts, you can't see everything. But with a bit of detective work and with a bit of finding things in the archives and putting things together, then slowly the fog and the misty feeling is kind of disappearing more and more. And you have a feeling, now you understand much better. And I think this is what you are experts in. You are the detectives. And you are digging out things for us in history that make things clearer for us today, and perhaps even a little bit clearer for the future, so we can understand why were we here 800 years ago and why are we here today. Some of the reasons are actually the same. If you look at security policy, we have a huge challenge from the east today. And we have challenges in the Baltic Sea. They had that also 800 years ago. There were security challenges as well as a feeling of, we should have a positive influence in this area. So it will be really interesting to hear what you are saying. And I'm sure that Her Majesty the Queen, who was here 2 years ago,
yes,
and was here actually in this building, I'm sure that she would have loved to be sitting where I'm sitting today, and I know that she is very interested, and she would have loved to be here. So thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for also actually doing it at a moment when we're celebrating 100 years of diplomatic relations and 30 years of re-established diplomatic relations. It's perfect timing on a perfect foggy and misty day. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'm giving just a very short overview about, how to say, prehistory of this conference, about our project, scholarship project. And the starting point of this, I can say, excellent cooperation was 3 years ago or 4 years ago when we here in Tallinn City Museum how to celebrate this anniversary, 800th anniversary of first mention of Tallinn, 800th anniversary of Dannebrog, how to celebrate this very special year. And we decided to prepare exhibition, a joint exhibition with some Danish museum here in Kikkendyök Tower, and and very kindly supported us Danish Embassy here in Tallinn and Danish Cultural Institute in Riga, and we got very good friends in National History Museum in Frederiksborg in Denmark, and we started to work, and result of this work was an exhibition here in Kik Museum, and its name was Thunderbrook and Estonia 2019 to 2019. And the second good idea was somehow to develop relation between Estonian and Danish historians, and result was 2 years a postdoctoral fellowship project to research Estonian-Danish common history in Middle Age time. So I have some little bit nostalgic photos here, and of course 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years ago, 15th of June 2019, was great honor for all of us here in Tallinn, but Her Majesty Queen Margaret II of Denmark visited our city. It was exactly, we can say, 800 years after the visiting of Valdemar II Tallinn. So it was very symbolic day, and of course we had honor that and Her Majesty was also here in Kik Museum and participated in the opening of our exhibition here. Mm-hmm. So and here you can see Mayor of Tallinn, and some yes very important things. Special beer was brewed for this day, and it's always very very important. And here you can see Flemming Pehenbacher, who is the chairman of the board of the Carlsberg Foundation, who handed over a scholarship to Mihkel Mäesalu and Stefan Pajung. Mm-hmm. So and when started this process, and Mihkel and Stefan already published several articles as results of the research work, and our conference today is also like result of this, I can say, excellent collaboration project. Thank you. It's all from my side, and I give the floor to Stefan, please.
Thank you. Well, thank you all for coming today. It's very exciting. Finally, we were able to hold this conference. We wanted to hold it last year, but unfortunately we couldn't do this. But before we start, I would like to say a few words about our upcoming anthology, because this should be ready for publication sometime next year. Even though Northern Estonia was a part of the Danish realm for over 120 years, and Danish interest in Livonia continued for a couple of hundred years afterwards, and even continues now, there has been, at least from the Danish side, there has been quite little interest in working on Estonian history, or Livonian Estonian history in Denmark. And so we, Mihkel Mäesalu from the University of Tartu and myself from the National Museum of National History at Frederiksborg, we were in 2019, as we've just seen, granted postdoctoral fellowships to do some more research in the field. We had quite an impressive plan of what we wanted to do, and then Corona threw a spanner into our stride, and now we are here. But we still managed to sit down and write quite extensive on the subject. So we have for the last 2 years undertaken an effort to revisit some of the themes and subjects that have been dealt with previously, and also have undertaken research into subjects which haven't been studied until maybe the last 20 years, and much more in detail than any other. Some of these discoveries we have documented in our blog, just a small little heads up. This is published at the website of Tallinn City Museum and at the website of Frederiksborg Museum. So you can actually, if you haven't seen that, you can also revisit what we have done there. Now, we are at the end of the project. At the end of this month, the project ends, and we are finally able finishing compiling our anthology, which hopefully will be released sometime next year. In the different articles of the anthology, we have attempted to clear out old misconceptions and offer some new insights and interpretations of this fascinating history of the region. For the reader which is not that well versed into the history of Livonia and Estonia, we have tried to make some timelines, some maps, and give a quite in-depth introduction into the subject. So it's more or less for everybody. The anthology covers a period from about the year 1100 until the middle of the 16th century, when the Danes were evicted from, or the middle of the 17th century, when the Danes for the last time were evicted from Estonia. So also it includes our humble efforts into writing a historiography of what has been done on the subject. So I will hope this will be well received, and with that, now without further ado, I will give the word to my colleague Mihkel Mäesalu over there.
Just a very few words about the conference. First of all, I would like to thank Madis Maasing for being prepared to give a paper in just 3 weeks' notice, when we heard in the middle of August that Jens Olesen cannot attend. Then we had another cancellation. Toomas Rees will not be present here as well, but he sent his text and his PowerPoint, so Stefan will read them for us. And then just a few days ago, we had a third cancellation, which Johnny G.G. Jakobsen also cannot attend and did not send paper representation. So we are lucky that we are just one presentation short. And so if anyone who wants to use a pointer, so I have one here. Coffee breaks are on the 3rd floor, which are for everyone, and the lunch is I think on the 4th floor, and only for the conference presenters and moderators. I think that's all that I wanted to say. So now I will give the word quickly to Ivar to introduce our first session speaker.